Welcome to Scoli Sleep Stories. Before we begin, take a moment to get comfortable. Let the day soften around you and settle in for a calm documentary made for curious minds. If these stories help you rest, learn, or simply enjoy a quieter part of the day, please consider liking this episode and subscribing to the channel. Now, when you are ready, let us begin. Chapter 1: Arrival in Reykjavik. The journey begins gently, with the first breath of cool Atlantic air. It has a clean, open feeling, as if it has traveled a long way across gray-blue water before reaching the shore. The light is low and soft, spreading across the sky in pale layers of silver, pearl, and faint gold. Even before the city fully appears, there is a sense of space: wide sky above, dark land below, and the ocean nearby, steady and quiet. This is Iceland, an island nation in the North Atlantic Ocean. On a map, it rests between Greenland to the west, Norway to the east, and the British Isles to the southeast. It is a northern country, lying just south of the Arctic Circle, though one small Icelandic island, Grímsey, crosses that invisible line around the top of the world. The island feels both near and far, connected by air and sea, yet set apart by water, weather, and its own deep geological story. The road from the airport crosses broad fields of dark lava, softened in places by moss. The land looks simple at first: black stone, muted green, pale grass, and sky. But beneath that quietness is one of Iceland's great truths. This is a young land, geologically speaking, shaped by volcanoes, lava flows, earthquakes, glaciers, rivers, and warm underground water. Iceland sits on the mid-Atlantic ridge, an underwater mountain range where two great pieces of Earth's outer shell slowly move apart. These pieces are called tectonic plates. They move only a little each year, at a pace measured in centimeters, yet over long ages that small movement has helped shape the island. Iceland also lies above a deep source of heat inside the Earth, often called a hot spot or mantle plume. Together, the spreading ridge and the underground heat help explain why Iceland has so many volcanic landscapes and geothermal areas. Geothermal means heat from inside the Earth. In Iceland, that heat rises in many forms: warm springs, steaming ground, hot water, and energy that people use in daily life. A little farther along, Reykjavik comes into view. Reykjavik is the capital of Iceland and the northernmost capital city of a sovereignty state. It sits on the southwest coast beside Faxaflói Bay, where the land opens toward the sea. By world standards, it is a small capital, but it is very much a living city, with neighborhoods, schools, shops, offices, cafes, libraries, and homes. Much of Iceland's population lives in the capital region, the city and surrounding towns gathered near the bay. The name Reykjavik is often translated as Smoky Bay. According to settlement tradition, early settlers saw steam rising from warm springs in the area and gave the place its name. The details belong partly to history and partly to old storytelling, but the name still fits the feeling of Iceland: water, warmth, and weather meeting at the edge of the sea. As evening settles, the city's rooftops catch the northern light. Some houses are painted red, blue, yellow, white, or green, their colors gentle against the gray sky. Windows glow softly, streets rise and fall over low hills, and the air carries a faint scent of salt from the bay. There are quiet residential roads, modern buildings, small gardens, and broad views where the city opens suddenly toward water and mountain. Across Faxaflói Bay, Mount Esja often appears in the distance, blue-gray and calm. It is not a single sharp peak, but a long mountain range with slopes that change with the weather. In clear light, it looks close enough to study. In mist, it becomes a soft shape at the edge of sight. The first permanent settlement of Iceland began mainly with Norse people in the late 9th century. They came from Scandinavia and from Norse communities around the North Atlantic. There was also Celtic influence, including people from the British Isles, some free and some enslaved, whose lives became part of Iceland's early population and culture. Over time, farms, seasonal gatherings, and communities grew across the island. Reykjavik itself remained small for many centuries and developed into a larger town and capital much later, especially in the 19th and 20th centuries. So the city has an interesting feeling. It is connected to old stories and ancient settlement, yet much of what one sees is modern. Warm homes, clean streets, public art, glass buildings, bookstores, and busy everyday life. Iceland is not only a place of lava and glaciers, it is a country of people making ordinary days beside extraordinary landscapes. As you walk through Reykjavik, there is a pleasing contrast between the cool air outside and the warmth that waits indoors. Many Icelandic buildings are heated by geothermal energy. Hot water from underground sources is used to warm houses and apartments, flowing quietly through pipes and radiators. The same deep heat that makes steam rise from the ground also helps warm rooms, schools, offices, and community pools. The phrase fire and ice is often used to describe Iceland. It is simple, but useful. The fire is not only eruptions, it is also deep warmth, old lava, dark rock, and the energy beneath the surface. The ice is found in glaciers, snowfields, cold rivers, and pale mountain light. These forces have worked together over time, building and carving, covering and revealing, leaving behind a landscape that feels spacious and alive. In Reykjavik, the theme is present in quiet ways. A cup of warm coffee held between both hands after a walk in the sea breeze. A heated home looking out toward a cold bay. A city street laid over old lava, beneath a sky that changes by the hour. The air may carry a little rain, or the clouds may open to show a band of clear light near the horizon. The pace of the city suits a slow arrival. There is time to wander past painted houses, to notice the shape of rooftops, and to listen to tires moving softly on damp streets. There may be gulls calling somewhere overhead, their voices drifting inland from the harbor. There may be a bicycle leaning against a wall, a wool scarf in a shop window, or a bakery sending out the gentle scent of warm bread. As the day lowers, lamps come on one by one. The windows shine amber against the blue of the evening. People move along sidewalks with the easy purpose of daily life, carrying groceries, walking home, meeting friends, stepping into cafes. Reykjavik feels open to the weather and sheltered by its own warmth. The bay appears again between buildings. The water is calm in the fading light, and beyond it Mount Esja rests in shadow. The sky above the mountain is wide and pale, holding the last brightness of the day. For a moment the city, sea, and mountain seem to breathe together, and now the path turns gently toward the waterfront. The air grows a little saltier. The streets slope toward the old harbor, where boats rest in sheltered water and seabirds circle in the dimming sky. The sound of the city softens into the sound of ropes, waves, and distant gulls. With Reykjavik behind and the bay ahead, the tour of Iceland begins to unfold at an unhurried pace, carried forward by cool sea air and the quiet promise of the harbor. Chapter 2: The Old Harbor and City Life. In the soft morning light, Reykjavik's old harbor rests close to the heart of the city. The water is gray-blue and gently moving, and the boats rise and fall with quiet patience. Some are small vessels with bright painted hulls. Others are working boats shaped by weather, salt, and years of use. Ropes lie coiled on the docks, nets are folded and stacked. The scent of the sea mingles with damp wood and cold air. This harbor has long been one of Reykjavik's meeting places with the wider world. For many generations, boats have come and gone from Iceland's shores, carrying fish, goods, letters, travelers, and stories. The sea has always mattered here. Iceland is an island in the North Atlantic, and life has often turned toward the water for food, trade, and connection. Fishing has been central to Iceland's economy and culture for centuries. It is not only a picture of boats against a horizon, it is real work, careful and skilled, shaped by weather, knowledge, machines, and long experience. Families, towns, and whole regions have been connected to fishing in one way or another. Even now, in a modern capital with offices, cafes, schools, studios, and shops, the harbor keeps that older rhythm nearby. A gull calls from above, its voice drifting over the water. Another settles on a post, feathers ruffled by the breeze. Around Iceland's coasts, many seabirds make their homes or pass through at the seasons. Gulls are common and familiar. Eider ducks float low on the water, rounded and calm, known for their soft down feathers. Fulmars glide over the sea. Arctic terns arrive in the warmer months. Puffins, with bright beaks and small upright shapes, may be seen in suitable coastal areas during the nesting season, though not every harbor or every day offers such a sight. The morning walk continues along the waterfront. The path is broad and open, and the air feels clean. Across the bay, mountains appear in soft shades of blue and gray, their outlines changing as clouds move slowly behind them. The city remains close, yet the horizon feels wide. Reykjavik is the capital of a country with a small population, under 400,000 people, and many Icelanders live in the capital region. Even so, there is a sense of space here, as though the sea and sky have left room around the streets. A little farther along the harbor, old warehouses and newer buildings stand side by side. Some hold restaurants or workshops now. Others keep the practical character of the port. A door closes gently, footsteps pass over the pavement, and a cyclist moves by without hurry. The city is awake but not loud. Near the waterfront rises Harpa Concert Hall, one of Reykjavik's most recognizable modern buildings. Its glass facade catches the changing light in many small reflections. Some panes seem clear, some smoky, some pale green or gold, depending on the sky. The design was inspired in part by basalt forms and northern light. Basalt is a dark volcanic rock common in Iceland, often found in columns where old lava cooled and cracked into regular shapes. Here, that idea becomes architecture: glass, geometry, and light beside the harbor. Harpa is a place for music, conferences, and gatherings. On some evenings, people arrive in warm coats, stepping in from the cold air toward the glow inside. Music is part of the city's living culture, along with visual art, design, theater, and public sculpture. Reykjavik is small compared with many world capitals, but it has a creative presence that feels steady and confident. Murals brighten walls, sculptures stand near streets and shorelines. In windows, simple design objects sit beside wool blankets, ceramics, and books. Books are everywhere in Reykjavik's quiet way. A little walk inland from the harbor brings bookshop windows, libraries, and places where people read over coffee. Iceland is known for its strong literary culture. Long ago, medieval Icelandic sagas were written down, prose stories about families, voyages, law, and life in the North Atlantic world. A saga is an old narrative, often plain in style but rich with memory. These works are part of Iceland's heritage, and modern Icelandic writing is alive as well, with novels, poetry, essays, children's books, and other works on shelves today. The Icelandic language carries a deep connection to that past. It is a North Germanic language, descended from Old Norse, the language spoken by the Norse settlers and their descendants. Languages always change, but Icelandic has preserved many older forms, more than some related languages have. On signs and book covers, letters appear that may be unfamiliar to English readers. The letter P, called thorn, sounds like the TH in thing. The letter D, called eth, sounds like the TH in this. Place names often describe the land itself. Foss means waterfall. Jökull means glacier. Vik means bay. Fjordur means fjord. In Iceland, a map can feel almost like a quiet lesson in landscape. A cafe door opens, releasing the scent of warm bread and coffee into the cool street. Inside, people sit with cups held in both hands, talking softly or reading alone. A window fogs slightly at the edges. Outside, the light rests on painted houses, some red, some blue, some yellow, with roofs that brighten the streets even on cloudy days. Reykjavik's daily life is modern and varied. People go to work, take children to school, meet friends, visit swimming pools warmed by geothermal heat, shop for groceries, listen to music, and check the weather, as people do in places where the sky can change quickly. The old and the new sit comfortably together here. A harbor shaped by fishing and trade, a concert hall made of glass and angles, a language with ancient roots spoken into mobile phones, a bookshop near a busy street, a gull on a roof above a passing bus. The city does not feel like a museum of the past, nor like a place trying to leave the past behind. It feels like a living capital, facing the sea and carrying its history in ordinary gestures. By late morning, the walk begins to turn away from the harbor. The water remains behind, still murmuring against the docks. The gulls continue their circles above the bay. Streets open toward the edge of the city, and the houses grow lower and more widely spaced. Beyond Reykjavik, the road will lead inland, toward open fields, dark lava rock, clear streams, and the broad valley of Thingvellir. For now, the harbor light lingers in the mind, boats rocking softly, glass catching the sky, books in a window, and the steady presence of the sea. Little by little, the city falls behind, and the journey begins to follow the road toward Iceland's interior. Chapter 3. The Golden Circle begins. Thingvellir. Leaving Reykjavik, the road turns gently inland, away from the harbor wind and the bright windows of the capital. The houses grow fewer, the sky seems to widen, and the land opens into low hills, lava fields, and quiet stretches of grass. This is the beginning of the Golden Circle, one of Iceland's best-known travel routes. It often includes 3 places, each with its own kind of wonder: Thingvellir, the geyser geothermal area, and Gullfoss waterfall. The first of these is Thingvellir National Park, a place where history and geology rest together in the same wide valley. The name Thingvellir is pronounced roughly Thingvellir, and it means assembly fields. Even the name feels spacious, as if it belongs to an open plain where people once gathered beneath the changing northern sky. As the road approaches the park, dark lava appears in broad, uneven shapes, softened by moss and low vegetation. The moss lies over the stone in quiet shades of green and silver, growing slowly in the cool Icelandic air. In places, water glimmers between rocks, clear and still, reflecting pale clouds above. The wind moves lightly across the valley, bending small plants and carrying the faint scent of damp earth. Thingvellir is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which means it is considered important to the shared heritage of humanity. Some places are given this recognition because of their natural beauty. Others are recognized because of their cultural meaning. Thingvellir has both. It is a landscape shaped by the slow movement of the earth, and it is also one of the most important historical places in Iceland. Around the year 930 CE, the Alþingi, or Althing, was established here. It is often described as one of the world's oldest continuing parliaments, though its long history has had changes and interruptions. In the early centuries of Icelandic settlement, people came to Thingvellir from farms and districts across the island. They traveled over rough ground by foot and by horse, bringing news, goods, questions, and concerns. There were no tall parliament buildings then, no streets of offices or formal halls. The assembly took place outdoors, in the shelter of the land itself. Laws were recited aloud so that people could hear and remember them. Disputes were discussed and settled. Families met, agreements were made, and the life of a scattered island community was gathered into one place for a little while. It is gentle to imagine those old meetings not as a perfect version of modern democracy, but as an early form of shared order. In a young society spread across valleys, coasts, and farms, Thingvellir gave people a center. The valley held voices, footsteps, horses, tents, and fires. Then, when the assembly ended, people returned again to their homes, carrying decisions and stories back through the landscape. Today, the paths are quiet. Visitors walk between dark rock walls and across open ground, reading signs, looking toward the lake, and listening to the wind. The old voices are no longer heard, yet the place keeps a feeling of memory. There is a calm dignity here, as though the land remembers being a meeting place. Thingvellir is also remarkable because it lies within a rift valley. A rift valley forms where Earth's outer shell is slowly pulling apart. That outer shell is made of great pieces called tectonic plates. These plates are enormous slabs of rock, forming Earth's crust and uppermost layer. They move very slowly, usually only a few centimeters each year. Iceland sits on the mid-Atlantic ridge, an underwater mountain range where the North American and Eurasian tectonic plates move away from each other. In most places, this ridge lies beneath the ocean. In Iceland, it rises above sea level, allowing travelers to see signs of this deep geological process on land. At Thingvellir, the plate boundary is not a single neat crack in the ground. It is a broad rift zone, a wide area of faults, fissures, cliffs, and lowered land shaped over immense spans of time. The movement is slow and steady, almost too slow for a person to notice, but the landscape shows its effects clearly. Rock walls stand like long, dark edges. Fissures hold cold, transparent water. The valley floor lies broad and open between them. Basalt appears throughout the park, dark and weathered. Basalt is a volcanic rock, common in Iceland, formed when lava cools and hardens. Here it rests in cliffs and broken stone, its roughness softened by time, lichen, and moss. Water is everywhere in subtle ways. It slips through cracks in the lava, gathers in streams, and rests in clear pools. Some fissures are filled with water so transparent that stones far below appear close enough to touch. In the stillness, the water seems almost glass-like, holding the pale light of the sky. Not far from the assembly fields lies Lake Thingvallavatn, Iceland's largest natural lake by surface area. Its wide surface stretches quietly beneath hills and distant mountains, changing color with the weather. On a gray day it may look silvery and cool. Under brighter skies it can take on soft blues and greens. The lake belongs to the same rift landscape, shaped by volcanic and tectonic forces, yet in the moment it feels peaceful and settled. The meeting of history and geology at Thingvellir is unusual and beautiful. One part of the mind may think of the Althingi, of laws spoken aloud in the open air more than 1,000 years ago. Another part may think of tectonic plates, moving below and beyond human timescales. Together they create a sense of layered time. Human time, with its gatherings and decisions, rests upon geological time, with its slow widening valleys and patient stone. Travelers here move carefully along marked paths, not only for safety, but also to protect the fragile ground. Moss and lava fields can be delicate even when they look strong. In Iceland, a path is often a quiet agreement between visitors and the land, a way to look closely while leaving the slow-growing surfaces undisturbed. As the day continues, the light shifts across the valley. Clouds pass over the lava, and the rock walls deepen in color. A faint breeze crosses the open fields. Perhaps a bird moves over the water, or the sound of a distant stream rises for a moment and then fades. Thingvellir does not need to be hurried. Its meaning comes slowly, through space, silence, and attention. After lingering among the assembly fields and rift walls, the journey continues along the Golden Circle. The road bends onward through low hills and quiet countryside. Behind us, Thingvellir remains in its broad valley, holding its clear water, dark stone, and old memory. Ahead, in another valley, the journey continues on. The earth begins to show its warmth, and pale steam rises softly into the cool Icelandic air. Chapter 4: Geysers and Warm Earth. A little farther along the Golden Circle, the road leaves the wide, open memory of Thingvellir and moves through low hills, pale grasses, and quiet farms. The air is still cool, as it often is in Iceland, but there is a different feeling ahead, a subtle warmth rising from the land before it can be seen. The road bends through Haukadalur Valley, where the earth breathes softly through steam, hot water, and mineral-colored ground. This is the geyser geothermal area, one of the best-known places in Iceland to notice the heat beneath the surface. The word geothermal simply means heat from inside the earth. In Iceland, that heat is close to daily life, close to roads, close to towns and homes, and sometimes close enough to rise visibly from the ground in drifting white clouds. The name geyser belongs to a famous hot spring here, often called the Great Geyser. From this Icelandic name came the English word geyser, meaning a hot spring that sometimes sends water and steam upward into the air. The Great Geyser was once very active, but today it is mostly quiet, erupting only rarely. Like many natural features, it has changed over time. Earthquakes, minerals, water levels, and human activity can all affect the rhythm of a geyser. Nearby, another geyser carries on the more regular pattern. It is called Strákur, and it is the one most visitors come to watch. Strákur usually erupts every several minutes, though the timing is not exact. It does not follow a clock in the human way. Instead, it follows the hidden movement of heated water below the ground. A path leads through the geothermal field, and careful travelers stay on the marked boards and trails. The ground here can be thin in places, and the water in the pools may be dangerously hot. Nothing needs to be touched to be understood. It is enough to stand at a safe distance and observe. The earth is given space, and in return it shows something of its inner warmth. Steam drifts upward in slow white veils. It rises from vents in the ground, from hot pools, and from places where water meets hot rock below. The air carries a mineral scent, with a trace of sulfur. Sulfur is a natural element found in many geothermal areas, and its smell can be sharp and egg-like, though here it comes and goes with the breeze. The scent mingles with cool air, damp wood, and rain-darkened soil. Around the pools, the ground is colored in soft bands and patches. Rust, ochre, cream, gray, and pale green appear where minerals have settled. Some edges look powdery and delicate, others are slick with warm water. These colors are signs of the chemistry below, of water dissolving minerals from rock and bringing them upward. In the quiet light, the colors seem gentle, like old paint softened by weather. A small pool trembles before Straka erupts. Its surface is clear, then domed, a rounded lens of pale blue water swelling from below. The blue lasts only a moment, but it is memorable, like a glimpse of sky held in the earth. Then the water lifts in a smooth column, carrying steam with it, rising and falling back in a natural rhythm. There is a hush from the ground, a soft release of pressure, and then the water settles again into its pool. It is not a thing to hurry. The eruption comes, and it passes. Steam drifts sideways in the breeze. Droplets darken the nearby earth. The pool quiets, gathers itself, and begins the hidden process again. Beneath the surface, water is moving through cracks and chambers. Hot rock warms it. Pressure builds, then releases. What appears sudden above ground is part of a longer cycle below. In simple terms, a geyser needs water, heat, and a natural underground passage where pressure can build. Rain and meltwater seep down through the ground. Far below, they meet rock heated by Iceland's active geology. Iceland sits on the mid-Atlantic ridge, where large pieces of Earth's outer shell move slowly apart. It also lies above a deep source of heat, often described as a hot spot or mantle plume. Together, these conditions help make Iceland one of the most geothermal places in the world. Not every hot spring becomes a geyser. Many simply steam, bubble, or rest quietly in their basins. Some form mud pots, where hot water mixes with fine clay and minerals, making the surface bubble and simmer softly. Others are steam vents, where vapor sighs from the ground in pale plumes. Some pools are clear and glassy, others are cloudy with minerals. Each has its own temperature, shape, and sound. The sounds here are small but constant. A bubble rises and breaks. Steam escapes with a low whisper. Water trickles over mineral crust. Footsteps pass softly along damp boardwalks. People speak in quiet voices, as if the warm earth encourages listening. Even when Straka lifts its column of water, the moment soon returns to calm, and the valley settles again into mist and breath. Geothermal heat is not only something to visit in Iceland, it is also part of everyday life. Many Icelandic homes, especially in towns and cities, are warmed by geothermal water. In Reykjavik and other communities, underground heat is used for heating buildings and outdoor swimming pools. In some areas, geothermal energy also helps generate electricity. It is a renewable source, though like all energy use, it must be managed thoughtfully and with care for the local environment. This connection between warm earth and daily comfort is one of Iceland's quiet wonders. A person might walk through cold rain in the morning, with low clouds over the hills, and then step indoors to rooms warmed by water that has traveled through the deep ground. The same island that holds glaciers and snowfields also holds reservoirs of heat. Fire and ice are not just poetic opposites here, they are neighbors. In Hakadalur, the valley shows this balance in a simple way. Cool wind passes over the grasses, steam rises from the soil, dark volcanic rock rests beneath pale mineral crust. Water comes down as rain, sinks into the ground, warms and returns. The cycle is patient and old. There is no need to understand every process at once. It is enough to know that the land is alive with warmth below the surface. The pools, vents, and geysers are signs of that hidden heat, windows into the workings of a volcanic island. They remind travelers that Iceland is still being shaped, steadily over years, centuries, and longer. As the visit draws on, the steam shifts with the breeze, sometimes hiding the path ahead, sometimes revealing the soft colors of the ground again. Straka rests between its eruptions. The great geyser lies mostly quiet nearby, carrying its famous name through history. The valley remains calm, warm in patches, cool in the open air, with the gentle scent of minerals passing over the land. By the time the road calls onward, the rising mist has thinned a little. The boardwalk fades behind, and the open valley stretches toward the next part of the journey. Ahead, the land begins to follow the Vita River Valley, where glacial water moves through the countryside. The warmth of Hakadalur slowly gives way to the sound, not yet seen, of falling water in the distance. Chapter 5. Gullfoss and the Glacial River. A little farther along the Golden Circle, the road leads toward one of Iceland's most beloved waterfalls, the land opens wide again, with low hills, pale grasses, and the long sweep of sky. In the distance, the air may seem to brighten, where water and mist rise together. This is Gullfoss, whose name means Golden Falls. The name feels well suited to the place. On certain days when sunlight reaches through the clouds at just the right angle, the mist above the canyon can glow softly, and a faint rainbow may rest in the spray. At other times, the falls are silver, gray, or white, with the quiet colors of northern weather. The exact origin of the name is uncertain, as many old place names carry more than one possible story. But standing near the falls, it is easy to understand why people might think of gold, not only as a color, but as something precious. Gullfoss lies on the Hvita River in southwest Iceland. Hvita means white river, and like many Icelandic river names, it describes something that can be seen in the landscape. The river often has a pale, milky, or gray-green color because it carries fine sediment. Sediment means tiny pieces of rock and mineral, ground down over time and carried along by moving water. In glacial rivers, this sediment can be especially fine, almost like flour, because glaciers slowly scrape and crush the rock beneath them. Part of the water in the Hvita comes from Langjökull, one of Iceland's large glaciers. A glacier is a great mass of ice formed from snow that is piled up over many years. As new snow falls, older layers are pressed together, becoming denser and harder. Slowly, under its own weight, the glacier begins to move. It may move only a little each day, but over years and centuries, that slow motion changes the land. When the surface of a glacier melts in warmer seasons, the water runs down into streams and rivers. Some meltwater flows across the ice, some slips into cracks, and some emerges from beneath the glacier's edge. From there, it joins river systems like the Hvita, carrying with it the fine ground stone that gives glacial water its soft, cloudy color. At Gullfoss, the river gathers itself and descends in two main stages. First, the water spreads wide and drops over a broad ledge, moving in steady sheets. Then it turns and falls again into a rugged canyon, where the walls of dark layered rock are damp with spray. The motion is continuous, with the calm persistence of something that has been flowing for a very long time. The sound of Gullfoss is low and full, a deep hush rather than a sharp noise. It seems to fill the air evenly. The mist rises in soft clouds from the canyon, drifting over the viewing paths and settling as cool droplets on coats, hair, and stone. Nearby rocks shine with moisture. In summer, the surrounding grasses can be green and bright. The air can feel clearer, and the edges of the landscape may be touched with frost or snow. The waterfall changes with weather, season, and meltwater, yet its presence remains steady. Waterfalls are common in Iceland for several reasons. The island has mountains, glaciers, snowmelt, rainfall, and many layers of volcanic rock. Some layers are harder than others. Over time, rivers wear away softer rock more easily, leaving ledges where water drops from one level to another. This wearing away is called an erosion. Erosion is the slow shaping of land by water, ice, wind, or waves. At Gullfoss, erosion has helped carve the canyon into which the river falls. The water does not shape the canyon all at once. It does so gradually, carrying small particles, loosening rock, and following paths that deepen over long periods. A single drop of water seems light and gentle, but water gathered into a river, moving day after day and season after season, has great shaping power. The glacier, too, is part of this long work. Glaciers feed rivers, but they also shape valleys before the water ever reaches them. As a glacier moves, it can scrape bedrock, polish stone, and carry pieces of rock within or beneath the ice. When the ice melts back, it leaves behind sediments, boulders, and wide open spaces. In Iceland, where glaciers and volcanoes share the same island, the land often shows many kinds of change at once. Ice shaping rock, rivers carving canyons, lava cooling into fields, and moss slowly softening the surface. Gullfoss is not only a natural landmark, it also holds an important place in Iceland's conservation history. In the early 20th century, there were plans and discussions about using the power of the waterfall for hydroelectric development. Hydroelectric development means using moving water to generate electricity. In many places, rivers have been dammed or redirected for this purpose, and such projects can bring both benefits and changes to a landscape. One name often associated with the protection of Gullfoss is Sigríður Tómasdóttir. She lived nearby and cared deeply for the waterfall. Stories tell of her strong efforts to defend it from development. The full legal and ownership history is more complex than a single story can hold, but Sigríður became an important symbol of Icelanders' connection to their natural places. Today she is remembered with respect, and Gullfoss is often spoken of as part of the country's growing awareness of conservation. Conservation is the careful protection and thoughtful use of nature. It does not always mean leaving every place entirely untouched, because people live in landscapes too. Iceland has farms, roads, towns, power stations, and working harbors. But conservation asks people to think deeply about what should be preserved, what should be changed, and how future generations may come to know a place. At Gullfoss, the question was not only about water power, but about beauty, memory, and the feeling of standing beside a river that has shaped the land for ages. Travelers at Gullfoss follow marked paths and viewing areas, moving carefully where the ground is wet from mist. There is no need to hurry. The waterfall can be seen from different angles, each one showing another part of its form. From one place, the upper fall spreads across the river like a wide white band. From another, the lower fall appears to slip sideways into the canyon, vanishing into spray. The rock walls look dark and strong, yet the river is always working upon them, grain by grain. If the light changes, the whole scene changes with it. A cloud passes over, and the water becomes soft gray. A break of sun appears, and the spray brightens. The faintest colors may form in the mist, then fade again. The river continues, whether watched or not, moving onward through the canyon and across the land. After some time, the eye begins to rest in the rhythm of the falls. Water gathers, pours, disappears into mist, and flows on. The sound remains steady. The droplets drift through the air. The canyon holds the river, and the river shapes the canyon. Everything seems to be both moving and settled. When it is time to leave Gullfoss, the mist lingers for a while, as if the waterfall has placed a cool veil over the day. The road turns gradually away from the canyon and toward the south. The pale river remains behind, carrying meltwater from distant ice, while low clouds gather softly over the open land. Ahead, the journey will follow green cliffs, quiet farms, and more falling water along Iceland's south coast. Chapter 6: South Coast Waterfalls. From the golden mist of Gullfoss, the road turns gently toward Iceland's south coast, where the land opens into long green lowlands beneath a wide and changeable sky. Here, the journey begins to feel especially soft and spacious. Mountains rise inland, sometimes clear and blue-gray, sometimes hidden by low clouds. Toward the ocean, the fields stretch outward in quiet bands of grass, farm fences, and wandering streams. The south coast of Iceland is known for many things that seem to arrive together in a slow rhythm: waterfalls, cliffs, farms, black sand beaches, and on clear days, views toward glaciers resting high above the valleys. The land is shaped by water and volcanoes, by old lava and younger rivers, by weather moving in from the North Atlantic. Even when the road is modern and smooth, the surrounding country carries the feeling of long time. Along the way, sheep graze in the fields, scattered like small white stones across the green. Sheep farming has been part of rural Icelandic life for centuries. In summer and early autumn, sheep may be seen across open hillsides and low fields, moving slowly as they graze. In the quiet fields, they lower their heads to the grass, and the wind moves gently over them. A little farther along the coast, the cliffs begin to show themselves more clearly. They stand inland now, but long ago parts of this cliff line were close to the sea. The coastline has shifted over time as rivers carried sediment outward and the land changed. From these old sea cliffs drops one of Iceland's graceful waterfalls, Seljalandsfoss. The word foss means waterfall in Icelandic, and once you know it, the map begins to speak in a new way. Seljalandsfoss falls in a slender white stream from a high green cliff. The water drops into a shallow pool and sends a fine mist into the air, where tiny droplets drift across the grass and dark stones. The waterfall is not the widest nor the loudest, but it has a light and open feeling as though the water is drawing a pale curtain across the cliff. In suitable conditions, visitors can follow a path that curves behind Seljalandsfoss. Travelers are careful there because the stones can be wet and slippery, and conditions change with weather and season. But when the path is open and safe, the experience is unusual and gentle. From behind the falling water, the world is seen through a veil of silver. The fields beyond appear softened by mist. The sky, the grass, and the distant road all shimmer through moving water. Standing there, one can notice how the cliff overhang creates a small sheltered space behind the falls. Water has shaped the rock over time, and the old coastline has left its memory in the land. The waterfall continues its steady descent, drop after drop, stream after stream, not hurried, not still, simply moving as water does. Other, smaller falls sometimes thread down the cliffs, depending on rain and meltwater. Thin white lines appear against dark rock, then vanish into grass and stones below. The cliff face seems to breathe with water. Moss and plants cling to damp places. The air smells of rain, earth, and clean cold spray. The road continues eastward, passing quiet farmhouses beneath broad mountains. Many farms sit close to the base of the cliffs, where green fields spread out across the lowlands. The houses are often simple and bright, with painted roofs and small windows turned toward the light. Beyond them the mountains rise steeply, their slopes folded with streams. Low clouds may rest along the hillsides, touching the ground so softly that it is hard to tell where cloud ends and mountain begins. Not far inland lies Eyjafjallajökull, a volcano covered by an ice cap. Its name can be a challenge for visitors, but it is often pronounced approximately Eyjafjallajökull. The last part, Jökull, means glacier. Eyjafjallajökull became known around the world during its 2010 eruption. Here, though, the mountain is not a story of drama, but a quiet reminder that Iceland is living geology. Fire and ice meet in the same landscape. A volcano may rest beneath a glacier, and meltwater may feed rivers that pass farms and fields on their way to the sea. The people who live along this coast are accustomed to weather, water, and mountains. They check forecasts and road conditions, tend animals, maintain fences, and move through the seasons with practical care. Iceland's landscapes are beautiful, but they are also working landscapes, places where daily life continues beneath the cliffs and clouds. Farther along, another waterfall appears, Skogafoss. It is one of Iceland's large and well-known waterfalls, fed by the Skoga River. Compared with the narrow grace of Seljalandsfoss, Skogafoss feels broad and full, a wide white curtain falling from the cliff edge into a pool below. Mist rises in a steady cloud at its base, and when sunlight reaches the spray, a soft rainbow may appear for a moment, pale and delicate against the gray-green air. The sound of Skogafoss is continuous and deep, yet it can be calming when heard from a respectful distance. It is the sound of water finding its way down from higher ground, following gravity, season after season. The cliff behind it is dark, and the grass around it is vivid from the damp air. People often stand quietly before it, their coats dotted with fine droplets, their faces turned upward. There are steps near Skogafoss that lead to a viewing area above the falls, and travelers who climb them can look out over the lowlands toward the sea. But even from below, the waterfall gives a sense of connection between highland and coast. The Skoga River gathers water from rain, snow, and springs, and then pours over the old cliff line. After the fall, it continues onward through the flatlands, making its way toward the ocean. In this part of Iceland, old stories seem to gather around stones, cliffs, and hills. Icelandic folklore includes tales of hidden people, elves, trolls, and spirits of the landscape. These are traditions and stories passed down through generations, shaped by long winters, remote farms, and the presence of unusual natural forms. A rounded hill might become, in a story, a dwelling place for hidden people. A dark rock in a field might be remembered as something from an older tale. A sea stack or cliff face might inspire an explanation woven from imagination and place. The stories are not presented as facts, but they are part of the cultural atmosphere of Iceland. They show how people have listened to the land and given meaning to its shapes. In a country of lava fields, sudden weather, bright summer nights, and long winter darkness, storytelling has been a way to live close to nature. The medieval sagas, family histories, and local legends all belong to a culture deeply aware of memory and landscape. As the road carries on, the waterfalls recede behind, though their mist seems to linger in the mind. The fields continue, green and open, sheep graze near low fences, small streams cross beneath the road, the cliffs run in a long line, sometimes close, sometimes farther away, their faces marked by water and time. The weather shifts gently. A bright patch of sky may open over the ocean, while clouds still brush the mountains. Rain may fall lightly for a few minutes, then pass. The south coast often feels like a place of movement, but the movement is slow and natural. Cloud over hill, water over rock, sheep through grass, river toward sea. By evening, the light grows softer. The cliffs darken slightly, and the grass takes on a deeper green. Farm windows begin to blow here and there beneath the mountains. Behind, Siljalandsfoss and Skogafoss continue their steady falling, each drop joining the next in an endless, quiet pattern. Ahead, the land narrows toward the shore. The green fields draw closer to the ocean, and the first pale lines of surf begin to appear in the distance. Beyond them lie dark volcanic sands, basalt cliffs, and the village of Vik beneath the southern sky. The road follows the coast onward, calm and unhurried, toward the meeting place of black sand and white waves. Chapter 7. Black Sand and Ocean Waves. A little farther along the south coast, the road bends toward the village of Vik I Myrdal, often simply called Vik. It rests near the southern edge of Iceland, with low houses gathered beneath green slopes and the open North Atlantic stretching beyond them. Vik is the southernmost village in the country, a small community shaped by weather, sea, and the long history of travel along this coast. Here the land feels close to the ocean. Clouds move softly over the hills. The air carries salt and fine rain. Fields lean toward the shore, and beyond them the beaches turn dark, not brown or golden, but deep black, like velvet spread beside the pale foam of the waves. Near Vik lies Reynisfjara, one of Iceland's most famous black sand beaches. Its color comes from volcanic rock. Over time, waves, wind, frost, and weather break dark lava stone into smaller and smaller pieces until the fragments become sand. Each grain is a tiny memory of fire cooled long ago, softened by the steady work of water and time. The beach stretches beneath cliffs of dark rock. In the soft light, the sand seems to hold the gray sky within it. White foam draws slow lines along the shore, then fades back into the sea. The contrast is simple and beautiful. Black sand, white water, silver mist, and the blue-gray horizon beyond. Travelers here are careful. The waves at Reynisfjara are powerful, and the beach is known for what are called sneaker waves. A sneaker wave is a wave that reaches much farther up the shore than the waves before it. It may arrive quietly, without much warning, and the ocean here is strong. So careful visitors keep well back from the water, watching from a safe distance, letting the sea be admired without being approached too closely. From that quiet distance, the waves have a steady rhythm. They rise and fold, each one leaving lace-like foam on the dark shore. The sound is broad and continuous, a deep hush softened by mist and open air. The water does not need to be near to be felt. It fills the scene with movement, while the cliffs and stones remain still. At one side of the beach stand basalt columns, dark and tall, arranged like a natural wall. Basalt is a common volcanic rock in Iceland. When lava cools, it contracts, which means it shrinks slightly as it hardens. This shrinking can make the rock crack into regular shapes, often with 5 or 6 sides. Over time, these cracks form columns, as if the cooled lava had become a cluster of stone pillars. The columns at Reynisfjara are not carved by hand, but they can look almost architectural, like steps or organ pipes made by the earth itself. Some are straight and smooth-sided, others are uneven, softened by weather. Rain darkens their surfaces and pale green moss may rest in sheltered places above them. The pattern is both orderly and natural, a reminder that simple physical processes can create forms of great beauty. Offshore rise the sea stacks known as Reynisdrangar. A sea stack is a pillar of rock standing in the sea, shaped over long periods as waves wear away cliffs and leave harder stone behind. Reynisdrangar lift from the water in dark, slender forms, partly veiled by spray and mist. Birds may circle near them, and the white edges of waves gather at their bases. Local legends tell imaginative stories about these rocks. One old tale says they were once trolls, caught by the morning light and turned to stone. Like many Icelandic folklore traditions, the story gives personality to the landscape, turning cliffs, lava, and mountains into companions of the human imagination. The rocks themselves remain quiet in the sea, shaped by geology, weather, and the patience of time. Above the beach, seabirds gather on ledges and cliffs. In the breeding season, puffins may nest in this region, especially in suitable grassy cliff areas, though their presence depends on the time of year and conditions. In early autumn, it is gentler to think of seabirds more generally. Gulls gliding on the wind, fulmars riding the air above the surf, and distant birds resting against the cliff face. The coast around Vik is watched over by larger forces as well. Inland, beyond the village and the green hills, lies Mýrdalsjökull, a glacier whose name includes the Icelandic word jökull, meaning glacier. Beneath part of that ice is Katla, one of Iceland's active volcanic systems. The pairing is very Icelandic. Ice above, heat below, the quiet surface holding a deeper geological story. This does not make the village feel restless. Rather, it gives the place a sense of depth. Iceland's landscapes often carry several layers at once. A beach is also volcanic stone. A cliff is also cooled lava. A glacier may rest above a volcano. The visible world is calm, while beneath it are the slow, ancient processes that have shaped the island for millions of years. In Vik itself, the pace is unhurried. A church with a red roof stands on a hill above the village, its pale walls bright against grass and cloud. From there, the view opens toward the black shore and the sea stacks beyond. Houses gather below, near roads, fields, and the wide curve of the coast. The village is small, but it is not separate from the modern world. People live and work here, welcoming travelers, tending daily routines, and watching the weather as coastal communities often do. Place names in Iceland often describe the land. Vik means bay, Jökull means glacier, Foss means waterfall, Fjall means mountain. These words become gentle clues on the map, helping the traveler read the country as a landscape of water, ice, rock, and shore. Reynisfjara, Viki Mýrdal, Mýrdalsjökull. Each name carries sound and meaning, shaped by the Icelandic language. By the beach, the soft rain may come and go. It settles on jackets, stones, and dark sand, making every surface shine a little. The wind moves steadily from the ocean, carrying salt and coolness. The cliffs stand firm, the sea stacks remain in the mist. The waves keep their slow pattern, drawing white lines and then erasing them. After a while, the road turns away from the shore. The sound of the ocean follows for a little distance, then gradually becomes part of memory. The dark sand gives way to fields, then to wide plains and distant pale light. Ahead, the air seems cooler, and the land begins to open toward the great ice fields of the southeast. Behind, Reynisfjara remains with its black volcanic shore, basalt columns, sea stacks, and careful watching place above the waves. Ahead, the journey moves gently onward, toward glaciers, blue ice, and the quiet brightness of frozen landscapes beneath the Icelandic sky. Chapter 8: Glaciers and the Blue Ice. A little farther east, the road enters a wider, quieter part of Iceland, where the land seems to open beneath the sky. The farms grow fewer, the mountains draw back and then rise again, and ahead in pale weather, there are glimpses of white that do not belong to clouds. They rest on the high places and flow down between dark ridges, broad and still from a distance. This is the realm of Vatnajökull. Vatnajökull is Iceland's largest glacier, and one of the largest ice caps in Europe by volume. An ice cap is a great dome of ice that covers the land beneath it, spreading outward under its own weight. Vatnajökull is not only a single bright surface on a map. It is part of a large national park, Vatnajökull National Park, which includes glaciers, volcanoes, rivers, mountains, sandy plains, and many kinds of changing landscapes. Here, ice and fire are not opposites so much as neighbors. Beneath parts of the ice are volcanic systems, and around the edges of the glacier, meltwater finds its way down into valleys and toward the sea. From a safe viewpoint, the glacier appears calm, almost motionless. A tongue of ice reaches down from the high ice cap into a valley, pale gray and blue beneath a soft, clouded sky. These glacier tongues are called outlet glaciers. They flow out from a larger ice cap in the way a river flows from a lake, though much more slowly. They may look still to the human eye, but they are moving, changing, and responding to the seasons at a pace measured in days, years, and centuries. The air near the ice is cooler. It seems to slide down from the glacier and settle over the stones. There is a clean mineral scent, faint and fresh, and the soundscape is spacious. Now and then water trickles somewhere under the ice or along the gravel. A small stream crosses the plain, carrying meltwater away. Smooth stones lie beside it, rounded by time, by ice, and by flowing water. A glacier begins simply with snow. In places where snow accumulates over many years, the layers are slowly pressed together. The flakes lose their delicate shapes and become grains. The grains pack closer together. Air is squeezed out. Over time, the snow becomes dense glacier ice. When enough ice is gathered, its own great weight begins to make it flow. This movement is slow, but it is powerful. Ice can bend and shift under pressure. It can slide over rock. It can crack where the surface is stretched, forming crevices which are deep cracks in glacier ice. For that reason, glaciers are not places to wander without care. Travelers who go on to them do so with trained guides and proper equipment, because snow can hide openings, and the surface can change from day to day. For marked paths and safe viewpoints, there is already much to see and much to understand. The glacier tongue ahead is not pure white. Its surface carries lines of ash, dust, and ground stone. In some places it is silver gray. In others it holds a quiet blue, especially where the ice is dense and deep. Glacier ice can appear blue because of the way it handles light. Dense ice absorbs more of the longer wavelengths, such as reds and yellows, while blue light is scattered back to the eye. The color depends on the age and density of the ice, the weather, the angle of the sun, and the surface itself. Sometimes the blue is vivid, like a piece of sky held in frozen water. Sometimes it is subtle, a cool shadow within white and gray. Under cloudy light, the blue seems especially gentle. It glows from cracks and hollows, from compressed layers and smooth walls shaped by melt and refreeze. There is no need to come close to feel its presence. The eye can rest on it from a distance, following the long curves and ridges, the soft folds and darker seams, as if reading a slow history written in ice. Glaciers shape the land as they move. They are not only frozen water, but patient sculptors. As a glacier flows, it can pick up stones and grit at its base. These pieces of rock are dragged along beneath the ice, scraping and polishing the ground below. Over long periods, glaciers carve valleys, deepen basins, smooth bedrock, and leave behind ridges and plains of sediment. Sediment is the name for tiny pieces of rock and earth carried by ice, water, or wind. Some of it is as fine as flour. Some of it is gravel and rounded stone. When meltwater streams emerge from the glacier, they often run pale with this fine rock powder. In Iceland, such water can look milky gray, blue-white, or greenish, depending on the light and the minerals it carries. The stream braids across flat land, dividing and joining again, making delicate patterns over dark sand. It moves quietly here, then gathers itself farther down the valley, becoming part of rivers that travel toward farms, wetlands, and the coast. The landscape around Vatnajökull carries traces of many forces. There are mountains built and worn down by fire, ice, and water. There are black sands spread by glacial rivers. There are mossy stones, bright low plants in sheltered places, and wide slopes where clouds drift slowly along the ridges. In places, snowfields fade into mist so smoothly that it is hard to tell where ice ends and sky begins. Iceland's glaciers have changed through time, growing and shrinking with climate. Today they have generally been retreating as the climate warms, though each glacier responds in its own way to local weather, snowfall, temperature, shape, and volcanic heat beneath the land. The change is measured by scientists with maps, photographs, field instruments, and careful observation. It is also noticed by people who live near the glaciers and return to the same views over many years. There is a gentle seriousness in this knowledge. The glacier is beautiful, but not unchanging. It holds snowfall from the past and responds to the air of the present. Its edge may shift, its meltwater may alter its path, its surface may darken, brighten, crack, or smooth itself again. To look at it is to see both stillness and movement together. The day remains quiet. Low clouds pass across the upper ice cap, dimming and revealing the pale slopes. A dark bird moves over the valley, then disappears beyond a ridge. The cold air flowing down from the glacier meets the softer air of the lowlands, and the grasses bend lightly. Water threads over stone, carrying the mountain in pieces too small to see. As the road continues, the glacier remains beside the journey for a long while. Sometimes it is hidden by hills. Sometimes it returns suddenly, filling the distance with white light. Each outlet glacier has its own shape, its own valley, its own slow way of descending from the great ice cap above. They are part of the wide, frozen heart of southeast Iceland. By evening, the land begins to slope more clearly toward the sea. Meltwater streams wander outward, and the air carries a faint salt freshness again. Ahead, near the coast, the ice will take another form. Pieces that once belonged to the glacier will drift quietly in deep, still water, blue and white under the open sky. And so the journey follows the water onward, from snowfield to glacier, from glacier to river, and from river toward a lagoon where floating ice moves slowly with the tide. Chapter 9. Jökulsárlón Glacier Lagoon. A little farther east, along the southern road, the land opens again beneath a wide, pale sky. The mountains stand back, the air grows cooler, and the presence of ice becomes clear before it is fully seen. There is a brightness on the horizon, a soft whiteness beyond the dark sand and low grasses, where the edge of a great glacier rests in the distance. Here in southeast Iceland lies Jökulsárlón, a glacier lagoon whose name means Glacier River Lagoon. It sits at the edge of Breiðamerkurjökull, an outlet glacier flowing down from Vatnajökull, Iceland's largest ice cap. An outlet glacier is like a slow river of ice, moving outward from a larger body of ice into a valley. Its movement is very gradual, too slow to watch in a moment, yet steady enough to shape the land over years, decades, and centuries. The lagoon itself feels quiet and spacious. Its surface is often gray-blue, reflecting the sky in soft tones. Across the water, icebergs drift slowly, each one with its own shape and shade. Some are white like old snow. Some are clear at the edges, like thick glass. Others carry deep blue streaks, formed where glacier ice has been pressed so tightly that much of the air has been squeezed away. In that dense ice, light behaves differently, and the blue remains cool and gentle to the eye. There is no need to hurry here. The ice moves at its own pace. One iceberg may turn slightly in the water, showing a rounded side washed smooth by time. Another may rest low and broad, like a small floating island. A third may rise in delicate ridges and folds, holding shadows of silver and blue. The water around each piece of ice makes small ripples, widening outward in quiet circles until they fade into the stillness of the lagoon. Jökulsárlón is a relatively young landscape. The lagoon began to form in the 20th century as Breiðamerkurjökull retreated from the coast. Retreat in this sense means that the glacier's edge moved back as more ice melted than was replaced by new snow and ice. As the glacier withdrew, meltwater gathered in the space it left behind. Over time, the lagoon grew larger. It is still changing, part of a living, shifting edge between ice, land, and sea. This change is beautiful to see, and also thoughtful to consider. Iceland's glaciers have generally been shrinking in a warming climate, though each glacier has its own pattern and pace. At Jökulsárlón, that wider change can be seen in the expanding water, in the floating ice, and in the distance between the present glacier front and places where ice once rested. The scene remains calm, yet it carries a quiet record of time. From the glacier's edge, pieces of ice sometimes break away and fall into the lagoon. This is called calving. The word is simple, and it describes the moment when a glacier releases an iceberg into water. Calving does not happen constantly, and visitors may or may not witness it. Often the lagoon is simply still, with the ice already afloat, moving almost imperceptibly beneath the sky. Some icebergs remain in the lagoon for a while, slowly changing shape as air, water, and light work upon them. Others drift toward a narrow river channel that leads out to the Atlantic Ocean. The channel is short, and the sea is close. In time, pieces of glacier ice pass beneath the open sky and move toward the waves, completing a small part of a much longer journey that began as snowfall high on the ice cap. Near the lagoon, the soundscape is spare and gentle. There may be the faint lap of water against ice. There may be a distant call of a seabird, soft in the air. If the weather is calm, the silence can feel very wide, as though the whole landscape is listening. Low clouds may gather over the glacier, and the icebergs mirror them in pale gray reflections. On brighter days, sunlight touches the edges of the ice and brings out clear, glassy surfaces, one after another. Sometimes, seals are seen in or near the lagoon. They may lift their rounded heads from the water, look quietly across the surface, and then slip under again with hardly a sound. Their presence is never guaranteed, for they move according to their own needs and seasons, but the lagoon offers them a sheltered place to swim and rest. When one appears, it seems to belong to the quiet perfectly, like another smooth shape among the drifting ice. The road and paths near Jökulsárlón bring many travelers to viewpoints where the lagoon can be observed safely. Careful travelers keep a respectful distance from the water's edge and from the ice. Floating icebergs can turn or shift without warning, and pieces of ice washed onto the beach may move suddenly with the tide and waves. They are beautiful to watch, but not to climb. Here, as in many places in Iceland, the safest way to be close to nature is to give it space. Across the road from the lagoon, the short river meets the ocean, and there is a beach of black volcanic sand. It is often called Diamond Beach, because chunks of glacier ice wash ashore and shine against the dark ground. The name is only a nickname, but it suits the scene. The ice pieces may be large or small, clear or cloudy, smooth or ridged. Some look like polished crystal. Some look like frosted glass. Some hold tiny bubbles from long ago, little traces of air sealed inside the glacier. The black sand beneath them comes from volcanic rock, worn down by the sea and weather over time. Against that dark surface, the pale ice seems to glow. Waves slide in and draw back, leaving thin lines of foam. A piece of ice may catch the light for a moment and sparkle softly, then become still again as the water retreats. The beach is always changing. Each tide rearranges the ice, and each passing hour alters its shape. Standing at a safe distance, one can watch the meeting of glacier and ocean without needing to disturb it. The ice has come from the high, cold places of Vatnajökull. It has moved slowly through Breiðamerkurjökull, broken free into the lagoon, drifted through quiet water, and finally reached the shore. Its long journey ends in melting, in seawater, in mist, and in the small movements of waves over sand. By late afternoon, the light may soften across Jökulsárlón. The glacier in the distance takes on a muted glow. The icebergs become blue-gray silhouettes, each drifting at a patient angle. The lagoon holds the sky, the glacier, and the floating ice all together in one calm surface. Nothing seems fixed, yet nothing feels hurried. Water, ice, air, and stone continue their slow conversation, and as the ice drifts seaward, the road begins to turn away from the lagoon. Behind it, Jökulsárlón remains open and quiet, with its pale ice and dark water, its faint ripples, and distant glacier. The land folds gradually into mountains and narrow inlets, where the journey will continue into the quieter reaches of the East Fjords. Chapter 10. The East Fjords. A little farther along the coast, the road begins to feel more folded into the land. The wide open spaces of the southeast slowly give way to a region of narrow sea inlets, steep mountains, and small towns resting quietly beside the water. This is East Iceland, often called the East Fjords, a place where the coastline curves in and out like a soft pattern, drawn by water and time. A fjord is a long, narrow inlet of the sea, with steep sides. Many fjords were shaped by glaciers during past ice ages, when great masses of ice moved slowly through mountain valleys. As the glaciers pressed and flowed, they carved the land deeper and wider. Later, when the ice melted and sea levels rose, the ocean filled these valleys, leaving calm arms of salt water reaching inland. Here the fjords lie one after another, each with its own quiet character. A road may follow the edge of one inlet for many miles, close to the water, with mountains rising on the other side. Then it may bend around a headland, climb gently over a pass, and descend again toward another harbor. The rhythm is slow and winding, like breathing with the landscape. The water in the fjords can be very still. On a calm day, it reflects the slopes above it so clearly that the mountains seem to continue downward beneath the surface. Low clouds sometimes rest along the ridges, and mist gathers in pale folds on the hillsides. Small streams fall from high places, drawing thin silver lines over dark rock and green moss. The East Fjords are not empty wilderness. They are home to living communities, each shaped by the sea, the mountains, and the changing seasons. Small fishing boats sit in sheltered harbors. Houses stand near the water, often painted in clear colors that brighten the gray-blue shore. There may be a school, a cafe, a workshop, a small museum, a swimming pool, or an artist's studio with windows facing the fjord. In towns such as Eskifjordur and Neskopstadr, the sea remains close to everyday life. Fishing has long been important here, as it has been across Iceland. It is both a livelihood and a part of local history, though the work itself is skilled, demanding, and modern. Along with fishing, the region supports small-scale industry, tourism, services, and local arts. Visitors may come for the scenery, but the villages are also places where people shop, work, raise families, repair boats, teach children, make music, and meet their neighbors. As the road continues, it may pass through Egilsstadir, an important town and service center for East Iceland. It offers a sense of pause between coast and highland, with roads leading in several directions. From here, travelers may continue toward the north, turn back toward the fjords, or follow routes into quieter interior landscapes. One of the best-known towns in the East Fjords is Seyðisfjörður, reached by a mountain road that descends toward a narrow fjord. The way in can feel especially gentle when the weather is clear. The road curves down past slopes and falling streams, and the town appears below, gathered near the water. Seyðisfjörður is known for colorful wooden buildings and for a strong sense of art and design. It also has an important ferry connection to mainland Europe, traveling by way of the Faroe Islands and Denmark. In this quiet fjord town, Iceland feels both remote and connected, facing the North Atlantic while linked to wider routes of travel and exchange. The harbor there may hold a few boats moving softly with the tide. The water taps lightly against the quay. A gull drifts overhead. Painted houses stand close to one another, their windows catching the low light. In the cool air, the colors seem especially warm: red, blue, yellow, white, and green, set against dark mountains and the muted shine of the fjord. The East Fjords are also the part of Iceland most associated with wild reindeer. Reindeer are not native to Iceland. They were introduced in the 18th century, and over time the surviving wild population became mainly established in the east. Seeing them is never guaranteed, because they move with the seasons, the weather, and their own quiet patterns. But sometimes, across a distant hillside, a traveler may notice a small group moving slowly over the grass and stone. From far away, reindeer can look like soft brown shapes against the pale land. They graze, lift their heads, and continue onwards without hurry. Their presence adds another layer to the region's character. Not dramatic, not certain, but possible, like many of Iceland's natural encounters. The careful traveler watches from a respectful distance and lets the animals remain part of the wide landscape. The roads in the East Fjords invite patience. Some follow the shore, where the sea lies close beside the wheels, and the mountains rise immediately beyond. Others climb into higher country, crossing mountain passes where the view opens suddenly to valleys, ridges, and long slopes touched by cloud. Conditions can change with season and weather, and in winter some routes may be affected by snow or wind. People traveling here check road information and forecasts, as Icelanders often do. It is a practical habit, woven into daily life in a land where weather is part of the conversation. When the light begins to lengthen toward evening, the fjords become especially still. Shadows gather slowly along the mountain walls. The water deepens from gray-blue to slate and silver. In a harbor, ropes may tap gently against a mast. A small boat returns, leaving a soft line behind it on the surface. Windows glow in houses near the shore, one by one, and the road continues beyond the town, curving along the inlet. Each fjord feels like a quiet pause before the next bend. There is no need to rush through them. One can notice the shape of a mountain, the thin ribbon of a waterfall, the sheltered curve where a village has grown, the way a cloud lowers and lifts from a ridge. Even the place names seem to hold the land within them. In Icelandic, fjordur means fjord, vik means bay, and fell or fjall can mean mountain. The language helps mark what the eye is seeing. By the time the journey begins to leave the East Fjords, the road has gathered many small impressions: mist on steep slopes, calm water reflecting rock, colored houses near a harbor, the possibility of reindeer on a far hillside, and the steady presence of communities shaped by both sea and mountain. Gradually, the route climbs out of the eastern valleys. Behind it, the fjords fold back into the coast, quiet and sheltered. Ahead, the land opens toward North Iceland, where a town rests near the head of a long fjord, and beyond it, a volcanic lake waits beneath a wide northern sky. Chapter 11: North Iceland and Lake Mývatn. By the time the road has carried us into North Iceland, the air seems a little cooler and clearer, as if it has passed over long fjords and open hills before reaching us. The landscape feels spacious here. Mountains rise in gentle blue-gray layers, and the sea reaches inland through deep, sheltered arms of water. One of these is Eyjafjörður, among the longest fjords in Iceland, and near its head rests the town of Akureyri. Akureyri is often called the capital of North Iceland. It is not a capital in the official sense, but the name suits its role as a center for the north, a place of shops, schools, gardens, music, cafes, harbor work, and everyday life. It is a town where the surrounding mountains are never far away, and where the fjord gives a quiet sense of direction. The water lies below the slopes, sometimes steel blue, sometimes pale silver under low cloud, while small boats and working vessels move in and out of the harbor. Walking through Akureyri, the pace feels unhurried. There are streets lined with houses, windows bright against northern weather, and places where people gather for coffee, conversation, and errands. The town has a gentle cultural life, with galleries, performances, and bookshops, and it is known as a welcoming stop for travelers making their way around the island. Even here, in a busy northern town, the natural world feels close. Akureyri's botanical garden offers a quiet place to walk, with paths, plants, and the soft shelter of trees and shrubs. From Akureyri, the journey turns eastward, leaving the fjord gradually behind. The road passes through open country, over low hills and wide valleys, where farms rest beneath the sky, and the light changes softly across the land. A little farther along, the terrain begins to show signs of Iceland's active geology. Darker rock appears, low lava fields spread out in uneven folds. Steam may be seen in the distance, pale against the earth, rising from places where heat from within the planet warms the ground. Eventually, the road approaches Lake Mývatn, a shallow lake set within a volcanically active region. The name Mývatn means midge lake. A midge is a very small fly, and in this area the midges are part of a rich natural system. Their numbers vary by season and from year to year, and when they are present, they help feed many birds and fish. Because of this abundance of tiny life, Lake Mývatn is especially known for bird life. Ducks and other water birds can often be seen on the lake, gliding across the still surface or resting near the shore, though the exact species and numbers change with the season. The lake itself is calm and low, spread beneath open sky. Small islands and irregular shores give it a quiet, varied shape. On a still day, the water reflects clouds and hills so softly that the whole scene seems to breathe at the same pace as the weather. Grasses and low plants grow along the edges, and birds move lightly across the water, leaving narrow lines behind them. The surrounding land is a mixture of softness and stone, green patches, dark lava, rounded hills, and the occasional rise of steam from geothermal ground. Near Lake Mývatn are forms called pseudocraters. The word sounds complex, but the idea is simple. A pseudocrater looks like a small volcanic crater, yet it is not a true opening where magma came directly up from deep inside the earth. Instead, these crater-like shapes formed when hot lava flowed over wet ground or shallow water. The heat turned the water into steam, and the steam burst upward through the lava, leaving rounded mounds and hollow forms. Over time, grass softened their slopes, and now they rest in clusters near the lake, quiet reminders of a meeting between fire, water, and time. Another remarkable place in the Mývatn area is Dimmuborgir, a lava field with unusual rock formations. Its name is often translated as dark castles, and the shapes do have a castle-like quality in places, though they are entirely natural. Pillars, arches, and walls of dark rock stand along walking paths, formed when lava cooled in complex ways and left behind these strange, sculpted shapes. Long shadows gather in the hollows during the evening, and the lava takes on deep brown and black tones. Moss and low plants soften the ground around the formations, so that the place feels both ancient and still. Local stories have gathered around Dimmu, as stories often do around unusual landscapes. In Icelandic folklore, people told tales of hidden people, trolls, and beings connected with rock, hills, and remote places. These tales belong to tradition and imagination, shaped by generations of people living close to a powerful landscape. Here, among the lava arches, it is easy to understand why such stories grew. The rocks invite the mind to notice shapes and doorways, quiet corners and shadowed openings, while the wind moves gently through the formations. Not far away, the earth grows warmer again at Namaskard, also known as Heverir. This geothermal area lies below low hills, where the ground is colored with minerals in shades of ochre, cream, rust, gray, and pale yellow. Geothermal means heat from inside the earth, and here that heat rises near the surface. Steam vents send soft white clouds upward into the cool northern air. Mud pots bubble slowly, thick and gray, as hot water and minerals mix with fine earth. There is often a warm mineral scent, including sulfur, a natural element that can smell sharp and egg-like in geothermal places. Travelers are careful in areas like Heverir. The beauty is best enjoyed from marked paths because the ground can be fragile, thin, or very hot, and the pools and mud can be far above a safe temperature. Keeping to the path is a quiet habit of respect for the land, for safety, and for the delicate surface that has been shaped by heat, water, minerals, and time. From the path, there is still so much to notice. Steam rises and thins into the sky. The colored earth seems to glow softly under clouded light. The low hill stands still behind it all, as if listening. The Mývatn region is connected to the Krafla volcanic system, a broad area of volcanoes, fissures, geothermal fields, and underground movement. A volcanic system is not just one cone-shaped mountain. It can be a network of places where magma, or molten rock beneath the surface, has shaped the land. Krafla has erupted in historic times, including a period known as the Krafla Fires, from 1975 to 1984. That name refers to a series of eruptions and ground movements in the area. The signs of that activity are part of the landscape. Lava fields, warm ground, steam, and the sense that the earth here is still slowly changing. Yet there is no need to imagine this change as hurried. Much of geology happens at a pace far slower than daily life. Lava cools, rock weathers, moss begins to grow, and water gathers in hollows. Birds return with the seasons. Steam rises, fades, and rises again. The land keeps its long rhythm. As the day moves toward evening, Lake Mývatn becomes especially quiet. The low sun, when it appears beneath the clouds, casts muted gold over the water and gives the lava shapes long, restful shadows. Birds drift near the shore, and the open sky seems wide enough to hold every soft color of the north. Behind us are the fjord town of Akureyri, the harbor and garden, the calm streets under mountain slopes. Around us are lake water, lava, steam, and the gentle signs of life in a volcanic land. Soon the journey will turn westward again, completing the broad circle across Iceland. The road will pass through more lava fields, along coasts and quiet valleys, beneath changing skies. For now, evening gathers over Mývatn. The steam fades upward into the cool air, the lake grows still, and North Iceland rests beneath its open sky. Chapter 12. Returning West Under the Northern Sky. The road turns westward now, and the journey begins to feel gently complete. It is not the end of all that Iceland has to show. No single circle could hold every valley, every village, every quiet inlet, or every hidden stream. But the westward road gives the sense of returning, as if the island has slowly opened its pages and is now closing them again with care. A little farther along, the hills soften into long shapes beneath the evening sky. Moss lies over old lava in silver-green patches, delicate and slow-growing, resting on stone that once flowed hot from the earth. The road is quiet. Low clouds gather over distant ridges, and beyond them, the Atlantic waits, gray-blue and patient. West Iceland is a region of many textures. There are lava fields and fishing towns, fjords and mountains, warm springs and stretches of open coast. Some places feel sheltered, with small harbors tucked beneath steep slopes. Others feel broad and wind-washed, where the land lowers toward the sea and the horizon widens. Here, as in so much of Iceland, the landscape keeps showing the old conversation between fire and water. Lava has cooled into dark rock. Rain has softened it with moss. Rivers have crossed it. The sea has carved at its edges. And beneath the surface in places, geothermal warmth still rises from deep within the earth. Geothermal means heat from inside the earth. In Iceland, that heat is never only an idea in a book. It warms many homes, fills outdoor pools, and sends steam into the cool air where the ground allows it. Earlier in the journey, steam drifted above mineral pools near geyser, and the earth seemed to breathe slowly through vents and warm springs. Now, returning west, that memory lingers like a soft white thread rising into the dusk. The road passes through quiet settlements where windows glow in the lowering light. A small church may stand near a hillside. A few sheep graze behind a fence, their wool pale against the grass. A fishing boat rests in a harbor, its reflection trembling lightly with the water. The lives of people here are modern and practical, shaped by weather, roads, schools, work, family, and the sea. Yet the old closeness to land and ocean remains easy to feel. As evening deepens, the Snæfellsnes Peninsula comes to mind, reaching westward like a long arm into the Atlantic. Snæfellsnes is often called Iceland in miniature, not because it contains every part of the country exactly, but because many Icelandic landscapes appear there close together. There are lava fields, beaches, fishing villages, cliffs, mountains, and a glacier-capped volcano. At the far end of the peninsula rises Snæfellsjökull. The name ends in jökull, an Icelandic word meaning glacier. Snæfellsjökull is a stratovolcano, which means a cone-shaped volcano built up over time from layers of lava and ash. Its summit is covered by ice, and the area is protected within Snæfellsjökull National Park. On a clear day, it can appear pale and calm above the coast, a mountain of both fire and ice, holding two parts of Iceland's nature in one quiet form. The journey has met those contrasts again and again. In Reykjavik, colorful rooftops stood beneath soft northern light, with mountains across Faxaflói Bay and the scent of salt in the air. The city felt open to the sea, modern and warm, yet tied to old setting its stories and the steam that gave Smoky Bay its name. At the harbor, gulls moved over the water, and boats rocked gently at their moorings. The sea's importance was present in ropes, docks, fish, trade, and travel. Books, music, glass architecture, and cafes showed another side of Icelandic life, thoughtful, creative, and connected to both tradition and the wider world. At Thingvellir, the land widened into a rift valley. There, long ago, the Alþingi gathered, among the oldest parliamentary traditions in the world, though its history is complex and not the same as modern democracy. The earth itself also told a story there. Iceland sits on the mid-Atlantic ridge, where large pieces of Earth's outer shell, called tectonic plates, move slowly apart. The movement is only a little each year, but over long spans of time it shapes valleys, faults, cliffs, and the island itself. Farther along, warm earth rose into steam at Hápudálar. The word geyser came from Iceland's geyser, though today Strucker is the hot spring most visitors see erupting regularly, when underground water, heated by the earth, rises in a brief column of water and steam. Around the pools, colors of rust, cream, gray, and pale blue mark the mineral ground. Travelers kept to the paths, because geothermal places can be beautiful and very hot at once. At Gullfoss, the Vaita River fell in two broad stages into a canyon. Its water came partly from Langjökull Glacier, carrying fine rock sediment that can make glacial rivers look pale or milky. The falls spoke of patience and strength, of ice becoming water, and water slowly shaping stone. Along the south coast, waterfalls slipped from green cliffs. Seljalandsfoss fell in a narrow white ribbon, and Skogafoss spread in a broad curtain. Farms rested beneath mountains, and low clouds touched the hills. Nearby, Eyjafjallajökull reminded the land of its volcanic nature, not with noise in this quiet telling, but with the simple fact that Iceland is still geologically alive. At Reynisfjara, black sand lay beside the North Atlantic, made from volcanic rock broken down by waves and weather. Basalt columns stood like a natural wall, formed when lava cooled and cracked into many-sided shapes. Sea stacks rose offshore in mist and foam. Travelers watched from a safe distance there, knowing the waves can reach farther than expected. Even caution in Iceland becomes part of attentive seeing. Then came the glaciers, pale and wide beneath cloudy light. Vatnajökull, Iceland's largest glacier, spread across the southeast, with outlet glaciers flowing from it like slow rivers of ice. A glacier forms where snow gathers year after year, compresses into dense ice, and begins to move under its own weight. Some ice appears blue, because dense ice absorbs more of the longer colors of light and leaves the blue tones for the eye. The glaciers carve valleys, polish rock, feed rivers, and change over time. At Jökulsárlón, icebergs drifted quietly in a lagoon, formed as the glacier retreated. Some floated slowly toward the sea, and pieces of ice rested on black sand at Diamond Beach, shining softly like glass. The beauty there carried a gentle awareness of change, because the lagoon has grown as the glacier has drawn back. In the east fjords, roads curved along inlets between steep mountains. A fjord is a long, narrow arm of the sea, often carved by glaciers. Villages rested by sheltered harbors. Reindeer, introduced to Iceland in the 18th century, sometimes moved across distant eastern hills, though nature decides when they are seen. In the north, Akureyri stood near Eyjafjörður, with cool air over the water and town lights near the shore. Lake Mývatn held birds and still reflections. Its name means Midge Lake, for the small flies that help support rich bird life. Around it, lava formations, pseudocraters, and geothermal fields showed how fire, water, steam, and time can make a landscape both strange and peaceful. Now all those images settle together as the road returns west. The daylight grows thin. In Iceland, the seasons change the feeling of the sky. In summer, the days are very long, and in the north, there can be midnight sun when brightness lingers through the night. In winter, the nights are long and deep. During the darker months, roughly from late August to April, the northern lights may sometimes be visible if the sky is clear and the timing is right. They are never promised. The aurora borealis depends on several quiet conditions: darkness, clear skies, solar activity, cloud cover, light pollution, and chance. The lights occur when charged particles from the sun meet Earth's magnetic field and upper atmosphere. A magnetic field is the invisible region around Earth that helps guide those particles. High above the ground, they interact with gases in the air, and sometimes the result is a soft glow of green, pink, or violet moving across the sky. On this evening, the air grows still enough to notice the first stars. They appear slowly, one by one, above the low hills and dark lava. The ocean wind has calmed. A warm light shines in a guest house window, small and golden against the blue of night. The road no longer asks for distance. It simply rests beside the land. And then, if the season is kind, if the clouds have opened, and if the sun has sent its particles toward Earth at just the right time, a faint green brightness begins to gather in the northern sky. At first it is almost like a pale mist. Then it lengthens into a quiet band. It does not hurry. It drifts and folds, a curtain of light moving without sound above the dark fields. The mossy lava below remains still. The mountains hold their shapes. The sea lies beyond, breathing in its ancient rhythm. The aurora brightens and softens again, as natural things often do. It is not a performance so much as a meeting. Sun, atmosphere, magnetism, darkness, and clear air. For a few moments the sky seems to remember the colors of the island itself. The green of moss, the blue of ice, the white of steam, the black of sand, and the gold of low evening light. The tour has circled through many forms of water: harbor water, lake water, glacial rivers, rain, mist, ocean waves, and ice. It has crossed land shaped by fire, lava fields, basalt columns, geothermal valleys, and volcanoes resting beneath glaciers. It has paused with human stories too, in Reykjavik streets, at ancient assembly fields, in fishing villages, and beside warm windows. Iceland continues beyond the road and beyond the telling. Its glaciers move slowly, its rivers carry sediment to the sea, its birds return with the seasons, its people go on with ordinary days beneath extraordinary skies. Weather changes, light changes, and the land changes too, often at a pace too slow to see in a single moment. The final view is simple: a dark road, low hills, a quiet house with lamplight in the window. Above it, stars, and perhaps a soft green veil of aurora moving gently across the northern sky. The island rests beneath ocean air and ancient stone, beneath ice and moss and drifting light.